Hey guys, welcome to Code Decode. In this video, we are going to look into some Spring Boot 3 interview questions that you are mostly likely to encounter in upcoming 2025 interviews. Why we are creating this video is because nowadays most of the enterprise level applications are migrating from old 2.x versions to Spring Boot 3. And that is the reason many of the times you are asked about what version of Spring Boot you are using, what Java language version you are using, why are you using the old version even though it is deprecated, and if you're not using it and you have migrated, what challenges you have faced. So today in this video we're going to cover all such questions that are going to be asked regarding Spring Boot 3. There might be some hiccups, like there might be some technical stuff like GraalVM, Java 17 new features like records. If any of such technical terms give you the hard time, just let me know in the comment section. I'll create another video on that particular technical stuff separately. So let's get started. Let's first see what is new in Spring Boot 3. So with the Spring Boot 3, we have multiple new features being introduced, such as Java 17 plus support. So remember, if you are saying that you have migrated to Spring Boot 3 and you are not using deprecated version of Spring Boot 2.x, make sure when they will ask you which Java version you are using, do not say that you are using Java 8. We know that you are much more comfortable with Java 8 now, but you have to say that you have at least the Java 17 plus support, because Spring Boot 3 does not support any version lower than Java 17 for Java language. So this is where the interview will trick you. They will ask you which Spring Boot version you are using, and simultaneously they'll always ask you which Java version you are using, just to know your knowledge on the compatibility between Spring Boot X version to Java X versions. The next thing that was introduced was the Spring Framework 6 was introduced. Initially it was Spring Framework 5 till Spring Boot 2.x versions. Then Jakarta EE9 compatibility is now introduced. We have improved dependency injection. We have updated our dependencies and adjusted our configurations. So let's see what specifically we have new in Spring Boot 3. So Java 17 plus support is there. Spring Boot 3 requires at least Java 17. This is the most important part. So all Spring Boot application must be upgraded to the Java 17 version and later, not below. The second is the Spring Framework 6 support is now there with Spring Boot 3, which comes with new feature like native compilation support via GraalVM. So remember, what is this GraalVM? I'll give you an example, okay? I have my Spring Boot running, a proper application deployed till production. Now somewhere, somehow I get a requirement that this is the Python script that you have to run inside your Spring Boot application container. How will you do that? The only way to do is with this GraalVM. This GraalVM will be a sandboxed version for you, who will provide you the Python interpreter, who will interpret your Python language, convert it into the native language or the machine language, which is understandable by your operating system directly, and you do not have a need of interpreter or the compiler in between, that you can directly run on your system along with your Spring Boot application. So that's what GraalVM is for you. A GraalVM is just a tool. It's not a dependency given by Spring. It is a tool, out of box, a tool, which will be a runtime for your application. For example, for your Python, it is a runtime for your Python. It will provide you the Python interpreter to run that Python code inside your container, Spring container, and will give you an ability to run multiple languages into the single application. For example, your Spring Boot application is also running not just the Python but also the JavaScript. So that's how you work with GraalVM. So if you want to know how do you implement it, first of all, install the tool. Make sure that you are using the ahead of time compilation, because it is not just running your application in the sandbox environment, but it is doing it ahead of time. That means during compilation only it will convert it directly to the machine code and it will run on your operating system directly. You do not need any compiler interpreter explicitly added into your system. GraalVM will do that for you. So that's what GraalVM is for you. It's a tool. If you want to know the hands-on POC or the proof of concept on GraalVM, let me know in the comment section. I have a POC created for GraalVM for you with an integration of Python into the Spring Boot code. The third one is the native image support. Now this is something which very much related to GraalVM. The native image support means that you have a better integration of the native code in the Spring Boot application. For example, you can directly run the native Python code into your Spring Boot application. This significantly reduces the memory footprint and the startup time because you are doing it ahead of time. Remember, I say this GraalVM comes with a ahead of time thing. So ahead of time means you are converting your code to the native code even before the running part is there. So that's the ahead of time for you. Now, if anybody in case asks you who provides you the GraalVM, do not say Spring Boot 3. It's the feature given by Spring Framework 6. So this is again the third tricky question interview might confuse you with. The fourth important thing is the Jakarta EE9 support. Now Java 3 is compatible with Jakarta 9. That means the packages has to be changed from Java X to Jakarta X. So this is a breaking change. Remember, whenever you say how did you migrate it, the first thing that you have to say is all the Java X servlet packages moves to Jakarta, and hence all my code has a compilation error as soon as I moved from Spring Boot 2.x to 3.x during migration. The fifth part is improved dependency injection. So Spring 6, this is again the part of Spring, not Spring Boot. Always remember the difference and the new features given by Spring 6 and Spring Boot 3. So Spring 6 introduced the improved dependency injection, including the better support for constructor injection and nullability annotations. Now, updated dependencies with Spring Boot 3 has updated the dependencies. So you need to upgrade to the higher libraries and adjust the configurations accordingly. So the main summary of this is what Spring Boot 3 gives you is a support to Spring Framework 6, which internally gives you support for GraalVM and improved dependency injection, which comes with Spring Framework, not with the Spring Boot directly out of the box. The next is how does Spring Boot 3 improves on the startup time and memory usage. So the first thing they would ask you, why did you migrate to Spring Boot 3? Now, if you say that because everybody is doing it, that does not justify your answer. You have to say that Spring Boot 3 has much more improvised startup time and better memory usage than Spring 2. And that is a justifiable answer that why you have migrated your application from 2.x to 3. Now, what best part they did, which improved the startup time and memory usages? The first thing that we already told you, ahead of time. What is this ahead of time processing? Ahead of time processing optimizes the application's code during the build time, which reduces the runtime and hence improves the performance. So when you have your application, what you do, you first build the application, you compile it, and then you run it. The performance is not how much time is taken during the build or the compilation time. The performance is always measured at the runtime. So if any task you can do before the running part, then for sure your performance improves, because some task that you will be doing at the runtime, you have done in the build or the compile time. That means you have snatched some latency that was going to be used during the runtime and given it to the build time. And hence, the performance being always measured at the runtime will not affect if some time increases during the build time or the compilation time. So that is why Spring increases the performance, because it has ahead of time processing. The second very important change that Spring Boot 3 brings is introduction of Spring Framework 6. And Spring Framework 6 gives out of the box support and enhanced support for GraalVM, enabling the compilation of Java application into native executables. What is native executables? It is basically the exe or the jar, which is directly runnable onto the operating system, which basically when you are able to compile directly into the native code, which drastically reduces the startup time and memory consumption. This is particularly useful for cloud native applications and microservices. If GraalVM gives you the hard time, just let me know in the comment section. I'll give you the POC about it, how we can run this application using the GraalVM tool, and then you will see the real difference in the memory usage and the timings. Let me know in the comment section. I'll create that code snippet for you. The third important thing is class path scanning. So with Spring Boot 3, class path scanning is much more efficient and only necessary classes are scanned. Thereby, the startup time and the memory usage is increased. They do not go and just scan everything that we used to do in 2.x. It is a better intelligent scanning now. Now, the third important part is what impact does Jakarta 9 migration in Spring Boot 3 did on your application. So Spring Boot 3 is a Jakarta 9 compliant, which means that APIs now use Jakarta instead of JavaX. For example, for the persistence, you used to use Java X dot persistence. Now it becomes Jakarta persistence. For all the servlet level classes, you used to have Java X dot servlet. Now it becomes Jakarta dot servlet. What impact does it create? The biggest impact is it is a breaking change. What does the breaking change means? It means that any application using libraries of frameworks which are not Jakarta 9 compliant will break when migrating to Spring Boot 3. You will have to manually do all the compilation error resolution and update their dependencies to Jakarta 9 versions. Also remember, during the migration, they will ask you, how did you migrate? So you would say, I went there, I changed the Spring Boot version, I changed the Java version to Java 17 because lower is not allowed, and I removed all the compilations errors by converting Java X to Jakarta. That is where they will trick you. They would say, anything else did you need to do? So yes, there is a very important fourth point that you need to do is you have to migrate all the dependent applications also to Spring Boot 3. So suppose my application depends upon some identity provider. For example, who is the one providing the tokens to me, the JWT tokens. That application, if it is an internal, has to be moved to Spring Boot 3 before my application becomes the Spring Boot 3 compliant. So all the child dependencies first have to move to Spring Boot 3 and then only the parent can become Spring Boot 3 compliant. And that is the reason migration to Spring Boot 3 is a very big task nowadays in an enterprise level applications. So that's where you see everywhere it's Spring Boot 3 migration, because analyzing what all parent and what all children are there, what all the dependent jars are there, and moving them first, then to them, it becomes a hectic task nowadays. So that is why migration is a very big task nowadays with Spring Boot 3. Now, how did you manage the configurations in Spring Boot 3? So remember, there is not much change with the configuration management between Spring Boot 2 and 3. This is again something tricky. So this is where you can showcase your understanding of your configuration management by saying that you have the support for application.yaml and properties even in Spring Boot 3 now. You still can use profiles like @profile to separate dev prod. You can still use @configuration properties, and you can still use the improved configuration validations with @validated annotations, but with a better integration with Spring Boot configuration processor. So for me, things doesn't change much between Spring Boot 2 and 3 for the configuration management. But yes, there is some improvements done as a part of Spring Boot 3 in configuration properties. There is an improved support for Java records in configuration. Java record is nothing but a feature provided out of the box by Java 17, not by Spring Boot 3. Remember, they will confuse you by giving a feature and telling you it is a Spring Boot, it's a Spring framework, or it's a Java 17 feature. You should be able to differentiate between exactly which feature it is. That's where the interview will trick you. Now there's an improved validation mechanism and there's a better integration with Jakarta standards. So I don't think there's much change, just the improvised versions of everything is there for the configuration management. Now the fifth important question is, how do you handle database migrations in Spring Boot 3? Here also, from Spring Boot 2 to 3, nothing changes apart from some improvements. Even now, the database migrations involve two popular libraries that used to be already there in Spring Boot 2. So don't confuse here again. The two libraries are again Flyway and Liquibase. But what changes are done from Spring Boot 2 to 3 is what you should know. Everybody knows database migration is done through Liquibase and Flyway. But what change has been done is, now Flyway is also upgraded to Jakarta. Otherwise, how will you use it? Obviously, right? Flyway is again a dependency. If that is not moved to Spring Boot 3, how will your application move to Spring Boot 3? So obviously, now Flyway is moved to Jakarta. It has better support for Java versions. Obviously, same reason it has to move to Java 17. So all the modern features of Java 17 are there with Flyway. It has improved validations and error handling. So in my terms, nothing much changed. For Liquibase, again, Jakarta support is there. Enhanced database schema management is there, which comes as an improvisation. And robust change log processing is there. Too much of theory. Let's see what is the real difference between Flyway and Liquibase. So Flyway basically uses the SQL scripts, but Liquibase uses the YAMLs and XMLs change log. Flyway is more SQL centric, while Liquibase is more database agnostic migration. So, being me as a developer, I feel I use Flyway more. Reason being, it is more towards the SQL. It's not towards the database agnostic migrations. How do you give the properties here? So for the Flyway, you give the locations as a class part DB migration and on migration true. While for the Liquibase, you have to give the change log. That change log has to be either the XML or the YAML file. Now, which will you use when? This is again still the same from Spring Boot 2. You use Liquibase for simple migration. You use Flybase for simple migrations, while Liquibase for complex database agnostic schema changes. So when just your simple migration is there from one database to another, the data changes, not the complete database schema changes, then use Flyway. If complete database schema is also changing with columns, headers, everything, then go for Liquibase. Always one version control migration scripts are always there, and implement repeatable migrations for views and storage procedures. Now, what is the basic difference? Basic difference between Spring Boot 2 and 3 with this Liquibase and Flyway is they have strong Jakarta integration, strong Java 17 integration, improved type safety compared to the old one. Too much of theory, and that's why I've added the code here. So how would you actually, now that's where your interview will ask you about the practical implementation. So you said that yes, you have moved from Spring Boot 2 to Spring Boot 3, but how did you migrate your SQL DB to Oracle, or these things are important? How basically the migration for the database is done is also important with the Spring Boot application. There might be the case that now since you're upgrading, there might be some suggestion from the client that also migrate from the old PostgreSQL to MySQL or something like that. Then how would you do that? So for the Flyway, just add the dependency in your POM for the Flyway core. Add the properties like where is your database source, URL and password. Give the migration script in the SRC main resources DB migration folder. There you give the table, the user ID and everything. And you can have the application properties also set that this is where in the SRC DB migration in the main resources my Flyway location lies. Now when you run the Flyway, run the application, Flyway automatically applies the migrations on the startup part. The second is the Liquibase implementation. Again, you have to implement the core dependency for Liquibase. You have to have your Liquibase properties file with the database URL, the username, password, and this is very important, the change log, that is the master XML file or the YAML file. Here it is the change log is an XML file. So what does this change log says? It says create table with these columns with this constraint. So you can clearly see the difference between Flyway and Liquibase. Flyway is more towards the creation of table, how you have to do it, what you have to insert into it. It's more towards the database schema that this table has to be done with this column, this constraint. So when it's very complex database schema change, then go for Liquibase. I will not suggest you if it's just the simple migration for data. And as soon as you run your Liquibase application, Liquibase applies all the migrations automatically on the startup. So that was all about the migrations. Now the sixth very important thing that is for sure is going to be asked for Spring Boot 3 is how did you integrate with Spring Security? Now if you say that you have extended web configuration adapter, you will be wrong. Web security configuration adapter, you will be for sure tricked into it because web security configuration adapter is now deprecated, which was there in Spring Boot 2. So now Spring Boot 3 comes with the updated version of Spring Security. Now it is much more easier to support and configure the modern authentication method like OIDC and Auth2. OID is for authentication, Auth2 is for authorization basically. It is method level security enhanced and improved. It has improved JWT supports. It's more robust authentication mechanism. So basically the improved versions are JWT tokens, Auth2, OpenID Connect, and Auth2 is enhanced with out-of-the-box support for securing APIs using tokens. Things still remains the same, but the out-of-box enhances the performance of everybody. Now coming to the implementation part, your authentication manager remains the same, your password encoder remains the same, your user details still remains the same, no change. The only change comes in how you configure your filter. So now you configure the security filter chain with no @enable web security and no extension of web security configuration adapter. WSCA. If you still say that you are extending web security configuration adapter, then and there they will find you that you have not migrated from 2 to 3 and you're still using the deprecated Spring Boot 2 because you're using Spring Boot Spring Security Web Configuration Adapter. Now what you have is a secure filter chain created like this with a bean in the configuration class of security config. This name can be anything, but the bean has to be created for security filter chain for sure. This name can also be anything, and you have to have the HTTP method where you have all your end matchup patterns, and that has to be built up upon it. So everything remains the same. The only change is the bean which is created, and the class has to be just the configuration class. So that's the very big difference comes into picture with Spring Boot, with Spring Security. If you want an end-to-end implementation of implementing the Spring Boot 3 with Okta, Auth2, JWT tokens, Spring Security 3, let me know in the comment section. I'll create a demo for that also. Now, what is the key difference between 2.x and 3.x in Spring Boot? This is a very important question now being asked a lot. So Spring Boot 2.x supports Java version between 8 and 19, while Spring Boot 3 has minimum Java 17 support. So if you say, I know Java 8, that is of no use now. Now Java EE has transitioned from Java EE to Jakarta EE 9 and 10. Now Spring Framework also moved from 5.x to 6.x. Hibernate also moved from 5.x to 6.x. Native compilation was limited with the support with Spring Boot 2, but with Spring Boot 3, it has a full GraalVM native image support. A GraalVM is a very beautiful way for having the multiple language support in a simple single application. How did you do the observability? You can use the Sleuth micrometer here, but now it has much more enhanced observability with micrometer and much more dependencies. Now dependency upgrade is, they were legacy dependencies, now it is more modern one. All the Java X pattern moves to Jakarta X patterns. Spring Security moves to Jakarta and more towards the web, the bean that I've told you, that is security filter chain, with no support for web security configuration adapter, that is deprecated. Reactive support was there, but now it has much more better improved support for Webflux, reactive programming, and R2DBC. Migration still remains the same. For me, configurations also remains the same. A very important difference is ahead of time compilation comes with Spring Boot 3, which was not available Spring Boot 2, but now it has full AOT compilation support, which is a beautiful change. So key migration consideration is update to Java version 17 plus, replace Java X to Jakarta, update Spring dependencies, also update all the child dependencies first, modify your configuration and dependency management. So that was about the difference between Spring Boot 2 and 3. Now, how do you use Spring Boot 3 with microservice architecture? Spring Boot 2 was also used with microservice. Now, how your life changes in the microservice world. Service discovery has a very big difference. Spring Boot 2 used Eureka, that is given by out of box from Netflix. Now Spring Boot 3 supports Kubernetes, console, and many more cloud native service discoveries also. Configuration management was initially done with config servers. Now it is beautifully done with enhanced external configurations and native support given by GraalVM. API gateway, initially we used to use Spring Cloud gateways. Now it has better reactive routing and better performance with the API gateways also. So what key improvements are done with microservice in your world is, you have a very beautiful GraalVM native image support. You have better observability, better cloud integration, better performance, and good Jakarta EE standards being supported. And that is why you have to more and more leverage GraalVM and containerizations for your new microservices. Too much of microservice implementations with GraalVM, let me know in the comment section. I'll create another POC for microservices having GraalVM support for containerization. If you have questions around the Java 17 new features and you need a deep dive into that also, with what records are there, how GraalVM is supported, anything that you need to know, just add in the comment section. I'll create a video on that. Thank you.